The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson. Copyrighted by Disney. Acknowledgements. To whoever invented holograms, thanks for the ride. Without the people who make books come true, like A.I. Zuckerman and Amy Buckgower at Writer's House, and Wendy Lefcon, my editor at Disney Editions Projects, like this would have never happened, thanks to you all. Thanks also to Laurel and David, who read this far too many times, red pens in hand, and to Christopher Keynes for his keen eye and great suggestions. 1. He found himself standing next to the flagpole in Town Square, in the heart of the Magic Kingdom. In his pajamas, how he'd gotten here, he had no idea. His last memory was climbing into bed. It felt like only minutes earlier. Gripped by a sense of panic, awed by the sight of the Cinderella castle at night, Finn Whitman briefly recalled that he'd had other similar dreams recently. Always in the Magic Kingdom, always at night. But in his 13 years, none so real, so vivid, as this. He felt a breeze on his face. He smelled the wet earth of a flower bed not far away. He heard the distant whine of traffic and the buzz of a motorboat on the lake behind him. It looked so different, he thought, only to realize he'd spoken out loud. Main Street stood empty, not a person in sight. He glanced around and quickly saw that he was all alone. Not so different as all that, came a man's voice. Though faint, it startled Finn. He looked around again, this time trying to find the source of that voice. There, an old guy with right hair on a bench in front of the exhibition hall. He sat so close to a seated sculpture of Goofy that Finn hadn't noticed him. Finn moved toward the man, crossing the empty street. He felt unusually light, almost buoyant. The old man wore khakis, a collared shirt, and a name tag, Rain. "Where is everybody?" Finn asked, struck by the electronic sound of his own voice. "Is it empty?" the man asked, looking up anxiously. "Tell me what you see." Finn wondered if the old guy was blind. He seemed to be looking right at Finn. His blue eyes looked perfectly normal. Still, maybe he couldn't see. "Well," Finn said politely, "it's like empty, and it's dark out, and it's just the two of us." Rain's expression changed to disappointment. "What am I supposed to see exactly?" Finn asked. "You're only supposed to see what you can see." "Whatever that means," Finn said. "It means exactly what it says, if you say so. Listen, young man, I've been around here since long before any of them were even created. I live in the apartment above the fire station." He pointed right at the firehouse, and then looked back at Finn. "That takes some seniority, believe me." Seniority or senility, Finn wondered. Living above the firehouse, Finn doubted it. "Nice pajamas," the old guy said. Finn looked at himself. His pajamas seemed to be glowing. "What was with that?" he said. "I don't mean to be rude, but if you can see if you're not blind, then why do you ask me about the park being empty?" Rain's ice-blue eyes drilled into him. "How do you think you got here, young man?" That depends on where I am, Finn answered honestly. This feels like no dream he'd ever experienced. Very good answer. I expect no less of you. Excuse me. I assume that you'd question this. That's only natural. But ultimately, there's only one explanation, isn't there? Is there? Finn asked, confused. The other ones I wasn't so sure about. But you, Finn Whitman. By the way, that's a fine name you have. A name with real potential. Finn took a step back. How did this old guy know his name? What other ones? Finn asked. He studied Town Square and Main Street. The street lamps shone yellow. The Cinderella Castle glowed in the distance. All the familiar streets and paths and attractions, but empty. I told you, there's no one here. No one but us. It's empty. Wayne said nothing. As he stood and walked up Main Street, past the shops and towards the castle, Finn found himself following right along. They reached Central Plaza, an island in the center of the traffic circle, the spokes of which led to the Magic Kingdom's various lands: Tomorrowland, Frontierland, Liberty Square. They stopped in front of a statue of Walt Disney with Mickey Mouse. The castle rose majestically into the night sky. What time is it? Rain asked. As Finn brought his arm up to look at his watch, he saw that his arm wasn't exactly his arm. It was glowing. Not only glowing, but he could almost see through it as if... What's going on? Finn asked. What's with my arm? Rain sounded critical as he said, Figure it out. He then reached into his pocket and removed what looks like a remote control for a car. A small black plastic fob with a single red button. It looked like a garage door opener. What's with that thing? Finn asked. This button will send you back. Back where? Finn felt a jolt of fear. What if this wasn't a dream? He studied his arm again, then his other arm. He looked down at his legs. His whole body was glowing and vaguely translucent. Back to bed, Rain answered. So it is a dream. I thought so. It's not a dream. Finn saw a pair of 4-foot-tall chipmunks come out of the castle. They walked down a path and turned left, towards Toontown. He felt himself staring. He recognized them. What? Rain asked excitedly. Nothing, Finn answered. You saw something. He practically shouted into Finn's ear, causing Finn to jump back, startled. Wayne leaped up suddenly, years younger. He pulled Finn to his feet. You saw something, he thundered. Hey, what's the big deal? Tell me what you saw. You saw it too, Finn told him. Which character? Finn felt relief. Wayne knew Finn had seen a character, which had to mean he'd seen it too. He was clearly playing some kind of game, making Finn actually name the character. But Finn was good at games. Which character did you see? Finn asked. You want me to push this button? Rain threatened. Did he? Finn wasn't sure. If this was a dream, the black remote control fob represented a way out. When was the right time to use it? He hoped to stretch this out a minute longer. It was fun here. He glanced around at the sound of footsteps. Goofy went tearing past them, not 30 feet away, and headed into Frontierland. Rain never moved, never looked in Goofy's direction. "You're playing head games with me," Finn said. "Am I?" "Goofy," Finn said. "Are you asking me if I'm Goofy?" "I've been called worse." Rain studied Finn. His old leathery face brightened as he said, "You saw Goofy." Maybe Rain needed a hearing aid. He seemed prone to fits or shouting. Finn backed off. "Yeah, so what? You would have too if you'd bothered to look." Rain probably couldn't hear all that well. He obviously hadn't heard Goofy's footsteps, because he hadn't turned toward the sound. Finn decided to test Rain. "Chip and Dale," he said. "You saw them, right?" "You saw Chip and Dale?" He made it sound like Finn had won the lottery. "What was with that?" This is getting a little weird, I think. I want to go back now." Finn heard himself repeat some of what Wayne had told him, though the words didn't fit in his mouth all that well. It sounded to him like someone else doing the talking. "I'll push the button if you like, but I have to warn you." Rain fiddled with the name tag, pinned to his uniform. "Warn me about what? What you'll be missing? The park after dark. Basically all to yourself. The attractions operate day and night. Not many people know that." "Now I know I'm dreaming." "But you aren't," Rain explained. "Are you forgetting your arm?" Finn steadied his arm once more. "I'll admit, that is interesting. It's almost like..." Finn caught himself. "Like you're glowing," Rain said, in an all-knowing, I told you so tone of voice. "Am I?" "What might account for that?" Rain inquired. Finn understood somehow that a lot hung on his answer. Is imagining this place, or dreaming it, or whatever was happening to him, his ability to stay here, to return. He wasn't quick to answer. He didn't want to face what Rain was suggesting. "I give up," he said. "No, you don't," Rain protested. "You never would have been chosen for this if you were the kind who gives up on things. You're a finisher, Finn. That's what I like about you from your first audition tape." Stunned by what the old guy had just said, Finn felt his mouth go dry. How did Rain know about his audition tape? Exactly how complicated could a dream get? "Who are you?" Flynn blurted out. "I'm Rain. I work here. I was one of the first people hired by Walt Disney to imagine this park. The rides, the attractions, they call us Imagineers." "You knew Walt Disney?" Finn tried not to sound impressed. "He was my boss, you might say. At any rate, he's the reason I'm here. The reason you're here." "Me?" "I know this can't be easy." "It's a dream," Finn said, thinking. "What's so hard about a dream?" "No, it's not a dream," Rain said. "Take a look at the moon." Finn didn't move. Rain's voice became more severe. "I said, look at the moon." Finn had to turn around to locate the moon. A half moon, like a crooked smile, hung well above the horizon. When you think you wake up, take a look out the window. You'll see the same moon and you'll know." "Know what?" Finn asked. "That you was here, sitting here in Disney World, with an old guy named Rain. You're telling me this isn't a dream?" Finn felt his words catch in his throat. "We've got a problem. A big problem. A problem that affects not only the park, but the world outside the park. We call them the Overtakers." "The what?" Finn didn't like the sound of that. Wayne said urgently, "You need to contact the other hosts. All four. Arrange to meet them here at the same time. That will mean all of you going to bed. Going to sleep fairly close to the same time. Within a half hour of one another. Tell them that should work, I think." "What are you talking about?" "There's a fable, a story, a puzzle of sorts, that was left in case of a problem like this. It's called the Stonecutter's Quill." "A problem like what?" Finn felt totally confused. The Stonecutter's Quill. The title had an eerie sound. Just then, Tom Sawyer came out of Frontierland and headed up a long ramp into the castle. "Is that really the Tom Sawyer?" Finn wondered. The barefoot boy was smoking a pipe with a long stem. Rain did a good job of of pretending he didn't see the kid. Rain said, "The puzzle has to be solved to be understood. It has to be understood to be of any use to us." He paused and looked over at Finn. It felt to Finn as if Rain were looking right through him. "You're going to solve it. Me, the five of you," Rain said. Finn jumped away from the man. Again, he thought, how complicated can a dream get? If Rain was only a part of the dream, how could he possibly know about the four other hosts? How could he talk about Finn's audition tape the way he had? It was all related, all rolled into one. But Finn couldn't sort it out. Finn said, "You're talking about MGM Studios." "Of course I am," Rain said. "You see, I knew you were the right one. You're the leader, Finn." "I don't have the slightest clue what you're talking about," Finn said. "Nice try. But of course you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You just don't want to face it. Perfectly understandable. That will change." "A fable?" Finn said, testing him again. "Could a dream remember itself?" "The moon," Rain reminded him. "Don't forget the moon." "I won't." "All the five of you. I need you together. Here. All in the same place at the same time. I can explain it to you then. Once as a group. Just the one time. You can decide as a group to help us or not." "Us," Finn said. "I'll explain that as well." "This is the weirdest dream I've ever had," Finn said, not realizing he was shouting. "You'll get over it," Rain said. He raised his right hand, the one carrying the black remote control fob, and pressed the button with his thumb. Finn awoke, sitting up in bed. His bedside clock read 2:07 a.m. He collected himself, checked his surroundings. He reached out and touched the glass of water next to the clock. Just the feel of it was reassuring. Thank goodness, he thought. A dream. He wondered, "Whoa," he heard himself say out loud. "What a dream." This time his voice sounded more the way it always sounded, which reminded him of how thin and electronic it had sounded in the park. "Whoa," he repeated, just to hear himself say it. He scratched an itch on his head and another on his belly. That felt better. He lay back down, his head on the pillow, his green eyes wide open to the dark room. All at once, Finn spotted a shaft of light, bluish light, on his ceiling. It was in the shape of a knife blade. Moonlight. Finn slipped out of bed. With trepidation, he crept towards the window, afraid to look. The closer he got to it, the more his face was bathed in that pale light, seeping through a small crack in the curtains. Finn raised his arm and caught sight of his watch. His arm appeared solid. It did not glow and shimmer the way it had while he was with Rain. That came as a relief. Finn parted the curtains. There, out the window, hanging in the exact same place in the sky where Rain had pointed it out to him, Finn saw the curving smile of a half-moon. Could he have known that in his sleep? How? He looked again. The moon seemed to be laughing at him. 2. The hallway of Finn's middle school could sometimes feel as long as one raise. Late for class, he found this to be one of those times. Steel lockers occupied most of the space between the doors to the classrooms. The lockers were covered with stickers and pictures of movie stars or pro athletes, which instantly distinguished a girl's locker from a boy's. Fluorescent tube lighting cast a sickly glow over everything and made human skin look vaguely greenish. He said there was a fable, a story of some kind, Finn said to the boy standing next to him, that my friends and I are supposed to save the park, or something. He realized how ridiculous this sounded, whatever that means. By friends, you mean like me? Dillard Cole asked. Dillard ate enough for 2 kids, and had the body to show for it. He didn't mean you, Dillard, Finn said, gently trying not to hurt the guy's feelings. Not exactly. He meant the hosts at Disney World, the DHIs. No way. Way, Finn said, hurrying off to his 4th period classroom. It was only a dream, Dillard shouted after him. Finn wasn't so sure about that. We're honored you could join us, Mr. Whitman, said Mr. Richardson, as Finn rushed into his world history class. Mr. Richardson was probably the most boring teacher in the entire school. He'd lived in the U.S. for 20-some years, but still spoke with a thick British accent. He sounded like a pompous snob. Finn checked the wall clock. He was 8 minutes late, just under the 10-minute deadline, when Richardson would have given him a tardy. 3 tardies meant after-school study hall. Finn already had collected 2 others, both from science class. You'll sit up front, please, Mr. Richardson said, indicating an empty chair. Torture on top of humiliation. For the record, your notoriety pulls no weight in my class. I beg you to remember that when grades are issued, I find the idea of child actors tedious at best. Sorry I'm late, Finn said, sliding down into the chair, resentful that he had been made to apologize. He'd taken the job at Disney World somewhat against his will, mostly at his mother's urging. At the time, she'd had no idea she was making him into a middle school rock star. He remembered it well. There will be money in it, his mother had said. Your father and I can put a little something away for your college. I don't know, Mom, Finn had complained. This is Walt Disney World, don't forget. You would be a host like a guide in Walt Disney World. It's not exactly me. It'll look like you, sound like you. It'll seem like you to everyone but you. You'd be there for years, Finn Whitman. Maybe forever. You can't get any cooler than Disney World. His mother didn't know everything. But when she was right, she was right. Finn loved the Disney parks. So did his friends. Even though they lived in Orlando, they all went to the parks whenever they could afford it. But the Magic Kingdom, Mom, is for little kids. At Disney's MGM, sure, Animal Kingdom would be awesome. But the Magic Kingdom? You love the Magic Kingdom. And you know it besides. The rest of your family would get complimentary passes. Several a year. Every year. For life. As in forever. We could basically go whenever we want. Without me. I thought you just said you're too old for the Magic Kingdom. Finn's mom could twist almost anything he said. He picked up his arguments carefully with her. She had explained the terms of the contract to him, but Finn hadn't really paid attention. Tell me about the disguise stuff again, he said. He would only be allowed to visit the Magic Kingdom with prior approval. Once permission is granted, you'd still have to go in disguise. But a hat and sunglasses would be enough. You'd only have to wear them when you're in the Magic Kingdom. They can't have two of you running around. The real you and the hologram host you. It makes sense if you think about it. It did make sense, but he wasn't about to admit that. She said, "It sounds so easy. All you do is let them film you walking and gesturing. You read the script a couple of times into a microphone. They process the film or whatever, and presto, you're a hologram. Hologram host at the Magic Kingdom with a college nest egg and lifetime complimentary passes. Finn, you love special effects. What they're offering is for you to be the special effect. How much cooler can that be?" She was right again, but he resisted an all-out agreement. His mother had once called a new toaster high-tech. What did she know? "All I have to do is audition," he asked, testing her. "That's right. They might not even take you." "Mom," Finn said, "this is me we're talking about. Of course they'll take me." "Excuse me, Mr. Hotshot, but I do not want to hear you talking that way. And you know it. If this is going to go to your head, we are not doing this." Actually, Finn's mom loved to hear him talk like that way, though she pretended otherwise. She had schooled him in self-confidence. He'd auditioned for several things and never won a part yet, but not because he lacked confidence. "Okay, I'll do it," he said. She beamed. He loved to see her like that, bright-eyed and childlike. A month after Finn had passed the final audition and won a place as a Disney Host Interactive, or DHI, he arrived at the enormous soundstage at Disney MGM Studios. the size of a jet aircraft hangar. The soundstage was rigged with hundreds of film lights, a green screen that filled one entire wall, trampolines, cameras, boom microphones, and dozens of scruffily dressed crew members. He'd never seen anything like it, except in movies, though he did his best to pretend otherwise. A college-age girl dressed in black and gray wore a headset with a microphone mouthpiece, a fuzzy black ball by her lips. She called herself a PA. It took Finn 4 days to realize that stood for production assistant. Her boss was a guy named Brad from Disney Imagineering. Brad made Finn dress in green tights and a green stretchy top and walked around on a green stage. The costume had small metal sensors, like thin coins, stuck to the tights. On every joint of his body, dozens of the things. Cameras hooked up to a computer recorded the movements of the small metal discs. In the camera's eyes, the green costume moving against the green background basically made Finn's body disappear. The computer saw him instead as a floating cloud of shiny points. The engineers would later use the recordings of Finn's movements to animate the holograms of Finn and the other kids. Brad explained that this process was called motion capture. There were 5 kids in all. One very pretty girl, Charlene, had sandy blonde hair and blue eyes, with pale skin. The other girl, Willa, struck him as a little geeky, but extremely smart. She was sweet, but not knockout gorgeous like Charlene. Not many girls looked like Charlene. Willa struck him as moody, with the hooded brown eyes and dark braided hair. She might have been Asian or Native American. Maybeck, an African American kid, was taller than Finn by a full head and had the big guy attitude to go along with it. For some reason, he made a point of telling Finn that he was a Baptist. Finn, who wasn't terribly religious, wasn't sure what to do with that information, nor even what it meant. On a break, Finn hung out with Maybeck and the last of the 5, a boy who introduced himself as Philby. Like Maybeck, he obviously preferred to be called by his last name. Philby looked older than all of them, but was in fact the same age. He had a British accent or something close to it. Australia or New Zealand, Finn guessed. Quite the motley croup, Philby said. We're the Orlando assortment pack, Maybeck quipped. One of every flavor. Finn said, We're all from different schools, right? What's with that? It's like they wanted to make sure none of us knew each other. Why would they do that? Control, Maybeck answered. These kinds of guys, with them, it's all about control. That guy, Brad, I don't trust him. He's keeping stuff from us, count on it. Finn liked Brad, but he knew what Maybeck was talking about. It did feel like they weren't being told everything. We'd better be able to trust him, Finn suggested. He's the one turning us into holograms. I don't know about you, Maybeck answered, but I never trust anyone but myself. He added a little late. No offense. Finn wanted out of his tights. Phoebe said, "Did you know that DHI Disney Hosts Interactive also stands for Daylight Hologram Imaging?" "Seriously?" Finn asked. "Totally." "See," Maybeck said. "That's what I'm talking about, right there." "First I've heard of it," Phoebe continued. "This has never been done before. DHI's not like this. We are going to be turned into absolutely perfect three-dimensional images, duplicates of ourselves. We'll look real, but we'll be made of nothing but light. It's pretty cool technology, actually." "But if it's never been done before," Finn said, "how do we know it's safe?" The boys glanced back and forth between themselves. Phoebe said, "It's like taking pictures, that's all. How can it not be safe?" "It pays," Maybeck said harshly. "That's all I care about. My aunt could use the extra money." "Your aunt?" Finn said, before he took the time to think that his question might sound rude. "Yeah," Maybeck said. "I live with my aunt. My parents, they aren't around." Finn felt awful for having asked. Maybeck grew silent. He seemed less tough all of a sudden. "Sorry," Finn said, "for asking." "Not your problem," Maybeck said, in a softer voice. "My aunt's cool. She tried to get me in a toothpaste ad, but I lost out. Then this thing came up. Brad told me that if I'd gotten that ad, I'd never have been asked to be the host. They want nothing but fresh faces." "So you got lucky," Finn said. "We all got lucky," Maybeck agreed. "At DHI, in the Magic Kingdom, we are going to be famous." "We are going to be ghosts," Phoebe corrected. "Electronic ghosts, provided that this technology actually works." "Don't say stuff like that," Maybeck pleaded. "Of course it works." "Of course," Phoebe said. "My bad." But he sounded less than convinced. 3. "I don't get it," Dillard said, as he gripped Finn's ankles for sit-ups. There were about 40 kids on the crabgrass doing various forms of exercise, out behind the school in a field enclosed by a corroded chain-link fence. The South Florida climate ate metal down to rust and turned wood to sponge. Only concrete had a fighting chance. The kids spread around the field in clumps, tried to make it look like they were exercising. Dirt stuck to Finn's arms, in the back of his neck. He looked up at the ocean's blue sky, full of billowing white clouds. "The other DHIs," Finn explained. "The Disney hosts. I've got to hook up with them before I go back." "You know how stupid that sounds." "Yeah, but I don't care. No matter what, I've got to find out if they've had similar dreams." Dillard Grant glanced up and immediately let go of Finn's ankles. Finn went head over heels backwards. He found himself looking at an upside-down version of a girl named Amanda Lockhart, who had transferred to the school in late September. A few weeks earlier, she had exotic-looking eyes, a deep natural tan, and a few freckles on her cheeks. She was searching along with a dozen other girls. Finn wasn't big on girls, but something about Amanda grabbed and held his attention. Dillard clasped his ankles again. Finn struggled back up to sitting. He squeezed out a couple more sit-ups. "It's experimental," he explained. "The DHI technology. Not exactly photography. Not exactly computer graphics. You're going psycho on me, Dillard complained. Finn said, when I woke up, the moon was right where it belonged. You want to explain that? I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Dillard said, but I think they fried your brain. I don't know any of their full names. Well, Charlene, Maybeck, and Philby. Maybeck and Philby will be easier to find than the girls, because those are their last names. Unusual names at that. There was this guy at MGM who ran things. He would know who everyone is, though. I'm not sure he'd tell me. Dillard gave Finn a puzzled look. I feel sorry for you, man. You've lost it. The new girl, Amanda. Doesn't her mother or father work over at MGM? Did you hear about that? Many of the students' parents had something to do with one of the parks. Amanda is a girl, Dillard reminded Finn. Have you lost your mind? Dillard thought of girls as a separate life form. Yeah, Finn said. Maybe I have. 4. The monorail zoomed past a sea of green trees, heading for a stop at the Grand Floridian Hotel. This is pretty cool of you, Amanda, Finn said. He wore a Tampa Devil Rays baseball cap and a pair of his father's old sunglasses, which looked too big for his face. Some disguise. Amanda wore hip huggers and a shirt that exposed her belly button. We are taking photographs, she asked. They're friends of mine, you see. Sort of. Then she confessed, no, not really. I don't know their full names, so I don't know how to find them. If I can get photographs of their DJs and show them around some of the other schools, then maybe someone will recognize them. I'm not sure about what else to do. Word is, you're going psycho, Amanda said. I wasn't about to get you mad at me. I'm not stabbing girls in showers or anything. That's a relief. Amanda allowed a hint of a smile that Finn knew she would rather not have revealed. It wasn't cool for a girl to show she liked a boy any more than the opposite. Boys and girls seem to spend a lot of time and energy trying to convince one another that they didn't exist. Finn explained the problem is, if I'm going to visit the Magic Kingdom, my admission has to be pre-approved. That means telling my parents, and I can't exactly explain this to them. You haven't exactly explained it to me. Listen, I don't mind using a couple of my family's comp tickets, Finn. If you're worried you owe me, you don't. Cool. Is everything cool to you? She asked. What's with you and that word? You're cool, he said, looking right at her. Where did that come from? She blushed and bit her lower lip to keep from grinning. She looked out the monorail's car's window, as if she hadn't seen the Grand Floridian 100 times. So why do you agree to help me anyway? He asked, coaxing her. The doors hissed shut. A recorded voice announced that the next stop was the Magic Kingdom. She glanced out the window, too. Because I have my reasons. I want to help, she spoke to the glass. Then she looked directly at Finn and said, Besides, I've never met a real psycho before. Very funny. I thought so. When she laughed, it reminded him of bells. He made a mental note not to tell Dillard that. At the entrance to the Magic Kingdom, Amanda handled the complimentary tickets while Finn kept his head down, so as not to be recognized. A minute later, they were inside the main gate, passing the spot where parents picked up and returned the rented baby strollers. Still looking at the pavement, Finn asked her, "Do you see any obvious security types?" "No. They don't all wear uniforms. They're pretty hard to spot. Finn, you're not exactly one of the 10 most wanted or something. We're going to be fine." "Hey, there's a host over there," Amanda said. "It's not you," she announced. Finn looked over. A crowd had gathered around the DHI. "That's Charlene," he said. "You ready?" "Yes." "Okay then, here goes." Amanda slinked over towards the crowd, then posed for a shot with Charlene as Finn raised his father's digital camera. Charlene looked perfectly real, absolutely real, until the kid walked through her. The DHI never stopped talking. Never noticed that a kid was playing with her. "You've gone awfully quiet," Amanda said, a moment later, as she rejoined Finn. "I'd never seen that before, a kid walking through a DHI like that." "They shouldn't be allowed to do that," Amanda said. It's disrespectful." It wasn't the actual act that bothered Finn. It was the concept. A hologram was nothing but light, a three-dimensional image. How could he become one by falling asleep? What was he thinking? "Do you believe in weird stuff?" Finn asked her. "Depends on how weird, I suppose. Real weird. Try me." But at that moment, Amanda spotted another DHI and started toward it. Maybeck. Finn's legs didn't move. He felt something odd, like someone was watching him. He spun around. Main Street was crowded with people. Finn searched faces, his focus shifting. He stopped on a white-haired guy, an old guy, wearing a barbershop costume that made him look even older. Rain. He was looking right at Finn, the same way Finn's dad looked at him when Finn had done something wrong. Rain signaled for Finn to look to his left. There, Finn saw 4 older guys in band uniforms, red jackets with brass buttons. It took him a second to realize they were headed right for him. Security. Finn turned to Amanda, who was posing with Maybeck, expecting Finn to shoot a picture. He called out to her, "Trouble." They discussed this possibility and reviewed various options. They had agreed that if they had to separate for any reason, they would try to meet up again at the exit from the haunted mansion. Amanda took off at a run without a second thought. Finn tucked his father's cameras into his pocket and ducked into the emporium, made to look like an old-time general store. It sold everything Disney: clothing, dolls, stuffed animals, CDs, and DVDs. It was packed wall to wall with shoppers. Finn hurried past several displays. Deeper into the store, he passed shelves of princess costumes, a rack of hats and caps, a poster hung from the ceiling by a string, announcing the virtual Magic Kingdom. He stopped and used a mirror to watch the store windows behind him. There he saw a uniformed band musician enter the store. Coincidence? The band musician glanced to his right. Finn followed that line of sight to another band member. They exchanged a look, and then they turned and scanned the store. Finn felt sick with fear. He'd blown it, entering the park without the proper authorization. His family would probably lose their comp tickets. He supposed his DHI might even be terminated. They were coming for him, quickly and with great determination. Finn walked not to be seen. He found himself cornered in the hat section. "Hey," said a little boy, looking up at Finn with awe and wonder. "Are you him? Go away," Finn told the kid, not wanting to be bothered. "But it's you, right?" the little boy asked. He stepped closer, sucked in a chest full of air, closed his eyes, and marched right into Finn. Finn stumbled back as the boy fell over. "Wow," the boy said, recovering and coming to his feet. "You're real." The little boy's attempt gave Finn an idea. The emporium sold clothing. Finn spotted a rack of DHI merchandise, including the outfit that his own host character wore. He snagged a pair of loud purple shorts and a green surfing shirt, and pulled them over his own shirt and shorts. He didn't like leaving his devilry's cap behind, but saw little choice. He placed his sunglasses into the empty pocket of his own shorts. Two of the band members saw him and turned. Finn squeezed between them and ran. Several kids spotted him at once. Shouting for autographs, they followed after him. Parents played catch-up, hollering after the kids, "Stop and get back here." Finn led the children out onto the sidewalk and into Main Street. An alarm sounded loudly as Finn left the store in clothing that hadn't been paid for. Anxious parents clogged the door, blocking the security guys. "Hey," one of the kids shouted above all the others. "Check it out! 2 of them!" Finn glanced over only to realize he was standing 20 feet from his own DHI. His host self was surrounded by a pair of families and was answering questions. The 2 band musicians stumbled out onto the street. They looked back and forth from one Finn to the other. Which was which? The real Finn pointed to the castle. He recited the memorized tour information recorded during the filming at Disney MGM Studios. The DHI Finn, the hologram not far away, mimicked the same moves and recited the same words from the same script. Unable to determine which Finn to pursue, the band members froze. The real Finn had then moved his small group of followers up the streets at the exact same pace as his DHI. The 2 were perfect duplicates of each other. Then, with enough distance between himself and his pursuers, Finn slipped down a side path. He quickly shed the DHI Finn t-shirt and dumped it into the trash. He hopped out of the ugly shorts, slipped his sunglasses back on, and made off at a run, headed for the haunted mansion. 10 minutes later, Finn spotted Amanda waiting on a bench near the haunted mansion exit as planned. A neat apron of lawn surrounded the towering brick Victorian-style structure. The paved area in front of the entrance was divided, with chains and stanchions into the 3 lanes, including one for the holders of the Fast Pass, parked against the mansion's front wall, equidistant between the entrance and exit stood a gleaming all-black horse-drawn hearse. Even the windows were black. The harness hung in mid-air. The horse was invisible. Finn waited briefly before approaching Amanda, taking time to determine if either of them had been followed. "Hey, there you are," Amanda said. "I was spotted. I got away, but just barely." "Will they bust you?" "Not sure they can without catching me first. Without proving it's me." She glanced around. "So what now? How do we get you out of the park without your being caught?" Finn hadn't thought through the possibility when forming their original plan. "I suppose they might watch the exit." "You think? Get a life. Of course they will." "There's a guy, an old guy. I think he might help, if I can find him." Finn spotted a pair of clean-cut young men approaching the fast-pass entrance, not 30 feet away, just on the other side of the hearse. He and Amanda moved a few feet to be screened from view. Finn said, "Okay, look over my shoulder. See those two tall guys in line? They've got wires in their ears, and I bet they are looking for me. And guess what? We're trapped." Amanda studied the two with Finn's back to them. At this distance, he was safe. She looked at the haunted mansion, then at the way the exit line converged toward the entrance line. The two separated by only a chain. "We can't leave through the exit line. Not with them there. I know. But they are pretty far back in the entrance line," she observed. Finn's skin was crawled. How to explain any of this to his parents? "So we're trapped." I already had that much figured out. "But they're just standing there, waiting." "So?" Finn asked. "So we've got to get them to move," she answered. "And how are we supposed to do that?" he asked sarcastically. "Call them on their radios and tell them they're wanted somewhere else?" Amanda's brow knit tightly, deep in thought. "They'll move if they see you." "What, are you crazy?" "Shush." She cautioned him. "Come on," she said, taking him by the hand. He wasn't sure why, but he let her take charge. There was something about her confidence that reassured him. It felt almost as if she'd been through this kind of thing before. The way she stayed so calm. The way she studied the situation carefully. She led Finn quickly under a chain, behind the hearse, then between it and a low brick retaining wall. She peered around the hearse, monitoring the two security guards. "When I say go, we go," she instructed. Finn said, having second thoughts. Amanda watched. The line was moving along, but the two security guys remained near the mansion's entrance. "Go," she hissed. Together they hurried into the open, ducked under a chain, and cut into the entrance line. A bunch of people moaned and groaned. A few openly complained, but as the line surged, Amanda and Finn moved with it. Amanda was no giant, but she was an inch taller than Finn. She rose onto her tiptoes, looked back, and warned, "Okay, here they come." She tightened her hold on Finn's hand. Together they moved with the line, which surged again. A few seconds later, they were inside the mansion. Amanda kept watch behind them. Finn and Amanda stepped into the stretching room, a hexagonal space 20 feet across. Portraits hung on the walls. Finn had just begun to feel safe when, as Amanda tensed, he looked back and saw the two security guys enter, the last two people into the stretching room before its doors closed. Amanda rose up. "Uh-oh," she said. "What?" "They're pushing their way over here." The stretching room, jam-packed with people, did not make movements easy. A loud voice boomed over the speakers, welcoming the visitors to the mansion. It warned them not to lean against the walls. The lights dimmed. Finn didn't need to stand on his tiptoes to see the two blonde heads coming towards them. Amanda pulled Finn down into a crouch. Together they ducked and moved through the crowd. It seemed that the floor was beginning to sink. It looked and felt as if they were going down, down, down in an elevator. The walls stretched. The ceiling receded above them. Even the oil paintings stretched longer. "We're cooked," Finn said. "No," Amanda said, still leading him. "We're okay." They reached a far wall. Finn glanced back. The two guys were still pushing through the crowd toward them. "You're dreaming." "We'll use the chicken door," she said. "The what?" When I was something like 5 years old, I completely freaked out in here. Screamed my lungs out, totally lost it." As she said this, the room's floor stopped moving. The painted portraits now stretched grotesquely. A dead man dangled from a noose attached to the ceiling. Some kids shrieked. Amanda continued. "My mom got me out without having to ride the doom buggies. It's called the chicken door." "Here they come," Finn cautioned in a whisper. But just as he said it, the crowd surged, pressing Finn against Amanda. "Perfect timing," she said, smiling. The two security guys got stuck in the jam, still a few yards away. One of the wall panels opened like a door. The crowd of fat people, sweaty people, smelly people, bald people, and two teenage kids lunged ahead. The moment the door opened, Amanda took Finn by the hand and tugged. They hurried out into the dimly lit corridor leading to the doom buggies. "Run," Amanda whispered. "We have to hurry." She led him through an unmarked door immediately to the right. Finn found himself in a narrow, dimly lit corridor, ghoulish sounds in the distance. Amanda ran, with Finn following closely behind her. She proved herself a very fast runner. It's almost as if she's flying, he thought. Seconds later, they headed toward yet another door. Outside again, they were only a few yards from where they had been sitting only minutes earlier. The black hearse and the fast-pass line to their right. The entrance exit was straight ahead. The ear came alive with the sound of piped-in music and the steady rumble of park guests talking. Amanda glanced back at the mansion. Her eyes went wide, and he knew they were in trouble. She practically pulled his arm off as she drew him into a small gift shop. They ducked behind a carousel of postcards. The two security guys hurried past, only seconds behind them. Finn stood beside Amanda, their arms touching. "They've gone," she said. "We lost them." Finn held up his father's camera. Let's try to get a few more shots on our way out.